Hi,
Hey,
Tammy.
Nate. How are you?
Did you notice I missed the countdown? I didn't
Yeah,
hit
it
the
did,
countdown
but
button.
it's all right.
That's
You
because we
seem,
started early. I was
yeah,
thrown off.
and you seem out of focus.
What do you mean I'm out of focus?
Yeah, you look.
Should
It's
we do
getting
this?
better.
Is that
Yeah,
better?
maybe it's my eyes. I went and got my eye exam, and my eyes are getting better, but maybe they're really not.
Wow.
So,
Usually they go
yeah,
the other way.
yeah, no, they are getting better. So they
Been
say.
eating more carrots or something?
I just think I'm getting older, and it's a weird thing with my eyes.
That's what my grandfather always used to tell me. If you don't eat your carrots, your eyes are going to go bad.
Yep, yep.
I hated carrots.
So, how is your build? Your axles going?
Actually, I sold the one I didn't need, so that's happened. That's a good thing.
Oh,
But I
okay.
have one less Dana 60 cluttering up my garage. Um, Otherwise, I got some disassembly done, and that was about it. But I did get to go wheeling over the weekend, which I have not done in too long.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes
The
life gets in the way and you gotta remember to get out there.
Yeah, well, it's like before before late 2019, which is when my mother-in-law got sick. Those of you who are familiar with me and my channel know what that's all about. But um, I was wheeling a couple times a month. I was even guiding for Kyle, right? It's like I felt like I was wheeling more than I ever had. And then when she got sick, it kept throwing a wrench in all the time I ever made plans. So I basically just put it all to the side and said, okay, when this is over, then we'll get back to doing the wheeling. Well, she's been gone a year and a half now, and I still haven't gotten back to the routine. I
Mhm.
really need to. That includes working in the shop, right? It's like I've got a couple little projects done since then, but not like I was. I was in the shop like every weekend. I got to fix that.
Well, I think I've made my decision on my Jeep.
Oh yeah, what's gonna
I'm
happen?
I'm on Friday, the Jasper engine dude came into the shop, and I felt like that was a sign from God, and I'm gonna look into
Hey, get an
getting
engine.
getting a remanufactured. One of the guys at the manufacturing facility, he has an LS, and he was gonna give it to me, but it's just the block part. It's not everything else, and so I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, but
that would
I
be a
don't.
lot of work and
Yeah,
probably a lot of expense.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, in my pocketbook,
Hey,
I
I
know
got
what.
a quote unquote free engine. It's missing
Right,
all the important engine pieces.
right. So I think I'm gonna look into getting a remanufactured engine, and that way I'll feel more confident,
In
heading
a
out in the trails without that check engine light
in a
at me.
vehicle that you drive every day. Now, I don't know what your commute looks like and how much you really have to depend on that Jeep, but for a vehicle you're driving and you're depending on to get to work, that's the right choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not the cool choice, but I think it's the right choice. When the transmission went in the LJ all those years back, I was driving it to work at the time, and I had thoughts of like, oh well, now's a good time to get rid of that engine that or not engine, get rid of that transmission that so many people dislike, the automatic that was in the LJ. Um, and I ultimately decided no, that's not the right way to go for a vehicle I'm driving to work. If it
Right.
happened today, it'd be a whole different conversation, right? Because I don't have to depend on the thing. But yeah, so it would have been pretty cool if you had an LS though.
Yeah, but I don't need all that. Um, and I like slow crawling and going back and forth to work. So first I got to see if it's available for my Jeep, and I got to see how much it is. I'm thinking, and I get a little employee discount, so they're not
And
going to mark it
I
up.
assume they'll help you get it installed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's cool. You're
the
in a good
guys
position
in
for
the
that.
shop. Yeah. So I feel like everything is leaning towards that, and I certainly don't want the JL, and I don't want to sit and have to look for another JK and going through trying to buy a Jeep, and you know,
Yeah,
so
I was kind of curious, and I was looking at the used market for two-door JKs, mainly because as I get these axles built for the LJ, it's going to be out of commission, and when it's done, it's going to be so much bigger than it is now that for the Jamboree, which I guide greens for, it's going to be total overkill. Now
right,
maybe they'll just put me on a different group. It's possible.
right.
But it would be nice to have something that's closer to stock to use for that and to use for going around town and stuff. I don't mind driving the Cadillac around, but I mean, like to go to the airport, which is what I use it for. Probably that's probably the biggest trip I take with that thing. It's like a 2-hour drive. It gets 11 miles to a gallon.
Mhm.
Sometimes it'd be nice to have something that's a little
Right.
a little better on gas. I don't know if I'd want to park a Wrangler at the airport for a week though.
No, right. So
Any-
I'm kind of excited about tonight's show
Tonight should be good.
because
So anyone who's really looking forward to Community Corner, we decided to put Community Corner on steroids tonight.
yes,
And instead, our main topic is going to be an interview with, you could say, a community member.
Yeah.
We've Mark, who runs the Florida Team Trail Challenge. And he's going to talk. Sorry, Trail Team. I keep getting that backwards. He's going to talk all about the event. You have anything to say quick before I bring him in?
no, I kind of wish I could go partake in this event. I
you're
kind
gonna
of
have
like the
to-
idea. So maybe next year I'll
Once-
sign up. Yeah.
Once you get that engine, you're going to
Yeah.
need to get it good and broken in. So you're going to
Yep.
want to go to Florida, right?
Yep. And I haven't
All
wheeled
right.
there, so I can check that off my list. But let's bring him on.
All right, here we go. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Tammy. Hey, Nate.
Great to have you here.
Yeah,
So,
we're excited.
So I guess let's start off briefly, like, who are you? And then we'll talk about the Trail Team Challenge. It sounds like you're more than just the guy who runs the Trail Team Challenge. So tell us about you. Sounds like you've got a shop. We'll talk about that a little bit. Feel free. And then we'll get into your event.
All right. So, yeah, I'm Mark. I'm based out of Tampa, Florida, and I do own and operate the Jeep Lab. So we do Jeep customizations here in Tampa. Been around 2018, early February, we opened up. And so I do that full time. And then, yeah, like my first vehicle was a Jeep. So I've just been into Jeeps for a long, long time. Enjoy wheeling, enjoy the recovery aspect, the spotting with, leading and whatnot in the group. So, yeah.
People
And
don't, I think, realize the fun that is not just in off-roading, but helping others off-road, the recovery, trail guiding, stuff like that. I don't think people really get that.
Yeah,
Go
not
ahead,
at all.
Danny.
It's weird. Some people come out and they're like, "Man, you're the first one to jump out and start,
Mhm.
pointing and leading." And if something happens, we were wheeling in Georgia a couple weeks ago, and a buddy had an accident, and obviously they were addressed the medical concerns. And my thing was immediately, this rig turn that way, hook over here, secure the rig before it rolls,
Yep.
and so that's just something like second nature for me.
in your shop, do you do Jeep builds,
Yeah.
Bronco
Yeah, just-
builds, or just Jeeps?
Just Jeeps, Gladiators, I don't really even get into, Grand Cherokees. We do Cherokees, XJs and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, just mainly Jeeps, Jeep Lab. And I've had a lot of people reach out, Jeep customers that, "Hey man, you do such a great job. Will you work on my wife's F-150? I'm like, nah. I'm a smaller shop. It is just me. So I kind of get to
okay.
pick and choose. But that was the other
Yeah.
part of starting the business was I wanted to wheel more. I wanted to enjoy life more. I didn't want to be pinned to 2 weeks a year vacation time. I wanted to pack up and go to Moab and wheel for a month, and just really enjoy life. So I'm able to
That's
just kind of
cool.
be picky with what I want to do.
And those trips to Moab you can make them a business write-off.
Yep, there's that.
I'm
There's that.
advertising. So
And
how long
do-
have you run the
yeah.
shop? I forget if you said that.
February 2018 is when I, officially went full time with it. I was kind of before that for the longest, people coming over to the house, renting. Then I opened up a little shop just to kind of move some more tools because tools started kind of taking over, needed more space. HOA area didn't really allow for a barn build or anything.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So
Yeah, I feel you there. My garage, as I've talked about before on the show, is very space constrained here. We live in town. We're on like a 1/4 acre lot, right? So you can imagine the small amount of space that we have. And there's a garage that's under the house. So I can't even make it any higher to fit a larger vehicle. And the LJ, which isn't crazy built at the moment, barely fits in the garage. It barely
Yeah.
clears the porch. It has to go underneath to get in there. So I feel you there. I've thought for years about building a shop somewhere.
yeah.
Then it turns into
Oh.
a business. I don't know if
Yeah. And
I don't
then
know if I want that to
exactly.
happen.
and you go down there, all of a sudden, then you're opening up a auto shop, and then
Yeah.
you're opening up, oh, let's create our own parts, or let's create our own line of recovery gear, and all of a sudden, woo,
All I need is a plasma table, and
Yeah.
it's so much easier.
Right.
Oh, I went down that road already.
I
uh-huh.
bet. I bet.
Yep.
So you do
So-
custom fabrication too? It's not just like lift kit installs and stuff?
Yeah, that's kind of where we started steering recently. Was out at SEMA and talked to a couple companies and started putting together a plasma table. But again, being in Florida, the market for the larger buggy, like hardcore, is so small. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's more of a, for me, maybe or a friend if I wanted to start getting into customization. But then also it takes up a lot of shop space too, having all the fabrication stuff. So it's like, which way am I going to go?
Mhm. And then, so what are most of your builds? What are you finding people are looking for mostly?
The bread and butter down here is lifts, wheels, and tires, pretty much,
Uh-huh.
and then a lot of aftermarket stuff, a lot of bumpers, winches, typically the bolt-on type stuff a lot. I mean, the
Right.
overland stuff is pretty big around here because there is, a lot of camping and whatnot. But most of your overland people are pretty, I mean, Jeep people in general are pretty handy, but the overland guys seem to kind of like to do their own little tinkering and whatnot. So a lot of it's like recommendations on lifts, and then some more technical things like, hey, I'm thinking about adding this. And I'm like, nah, don't do that because you're already running such and such. It's not going to work well with this component, or, you already bought this and this is going to counteract it type stuff. So, but yeah, lifts, wheels, and tires is the main bread and butter down here. And then a lot of, people do the re-gear down here because we're going all the bigger tires and whatnot. So,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, you get big enough. You
yeah,
can't go without the re-gear.
yeah.
We've all been there, I'm sure.
So you have an event that's coming up. Tell us about the event and then like what was behind it, what got it going, whose idea was it, that type of thing.
Okay. So yeah, so we've got the Trail Team Challenge, which is here in Florida. I'm kind of dropping the Florida off of it because it is open to anybody from anywhere. But it is based out of Florida right now. Who knows? I go to a great park up in Georgia that would be ideal for this. Just logistically getting up there to set it up would be a little bit more for me. But it's the Florida Trail Team Challenge. It is a off-road, we kind of call like an endurance challenge, because it does span over multiple days. And then the teams are consisted of two people, a driver and a co-driver, and in a mid-sized vehicle. So no full-size Dodge Ram 2500s, no side-by-sides. I've gotten some, feedback on, oh, well, you should. Oh, absolutely. I would love to be the next king of hammers and have 30 different categories, but I'm not there yet, So my
Yeah,
kind of
that's
response to
an
them is,
undertaking.
hey, help me fill these 20 teams consistently. And then, yes, we can do some full size. Yes, we can do some side by side. But so it is 20 teams is the max just because of the facility and the property and logistics wise, and 2-person teams. And we come down and they compete in a various challenges. There's about 7 different categories. So we've got like survival, first aid, recovery, marksmanship, navigation, precision driving, and just 45 different challenges in any one of those areas at any time. And the kind of thought process behind it is, say, like, Nate and Tammy, you guys go wheeling together and you're going to say, hey, we're going to leave from Pennsylvania. We're going to wheel to Wyoming and we're going to do mainly like off-road driving. The two of you are probably going to get together. You're going to, lay out a map of where you're going. You're going to make your stops where we're going to get fuel, maybe some shops along the way, just in case something really bad happens. You're going to plan food wise. You're going to plan parts wise. What extra stuff do we need to bring with us? And then you're going to hit the road, right? And that's kind of the idea behind this is you and someone else are hitting the road. You're going on a trail ride for multiple days and you're self-sufficient in your vehicle. And you're going to live out of your vehicle. You're going to work out of your vehicle. You're going to have your repair stuff to be self-sustainable. And you're going to go out into the woods. So what we do is we give them coordinates and they don't have any idea what's getting ready to happen. So they get a list of coordinates. They can go to any one of those coordinates at any time they want to, however they want to. And once they get to a set of coordinates, there's volunteers that are there and they read them a script. And they say, here is the challenge. Here's what it is. Here's how the points work. Here is the time frame you have. Any questions? Go. And then they compete.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I know. Do you have to hit every single challenge, or you just do as many as you can in a time period and you get scored?
Yeah, so we don't actually give them the full 45 right away. We break it up into half days. So usually they check in on Friday. We might have something for them Friday. They kind of set up camp for the weekend. Saturday morning is our safety briefing. We go over some last minute rules, just some reminders, make sure everybody's geared up, good to go, has everything they need. And then they hit it for like the AM session. Lunch, they report back, they get a new set of coordinates, they go back out for the PM session. And we do track all the numbers to see kind of how many teams are hitting how many challenges. The first block usually starts off a little small because they're trying to figure things out and figure out what navigation system they want to use to get them to the coordinates. So we're seeing around like 10 challenges done in that first one.
Oh, wow.
And then once they get into that afternoon, they're really kind of firing on all cylinders, and they're getting like 13, 14, maybe
groove,
15. Yeah. And then Sunday they wake up and they're pretty much hitting all of them for the most part.
And can you use any kind of technology to get these coordinates? Because I know there's the women's Rebel Rally where they actually literally have to use the old-fashioned way and use maps and
like a paper map and a compass.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to stay true to
Scouts.
We're trying to stay true to the times, as you know, you could say that there are a lot of great apps out right now. A lot of, I mean, even in this overland stuff is taken off where people look like full airplane cockpits in their Jeep and their rigs these days. So I'm not going to be one that says, hey man, now you have to use my app. You got to pay $39.99 for the year. If you want the other features, it's another $100. You know, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you're going to use on a typical trail ride, use it.
So I'm curious about the property that you mentioned. So much space on the property. What kind of property are we talking about? Is this like some farmer had a field he's letting you use, or you have like an off-road park you're working in?
So it is an off-road park. It's in Tavares, Florida. It's been open a couple years. And I'm just going to put a plug into the staff there. They are amazing. They are, some of them are Jeepers. There's some of the main gentlemen are big Bronco guys and whatnot, like the old school Broncos. So I love seeing those out there. But the property has been family owned. I don't want to know exactly how, but it's been a while. It's been in this family for a long time. It's on this beautiful, massive lake right in Tavares, Florida. And they actually have a blueberry farm on the property. So there's an active blueberry farm. They do bird dog hunting out there during part of the season. They do weddings out there now. They have actually a wedding chapel. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of property. So it's not open all the time. It's just when they have events. And I think right now they're around 4 to 5 events a year. And then they do have some private openings. So we are kind of around the schedule of the owners of the property. But they have gone out, the staff and the owners of the property have given them pretty much full range, because it seems like every time I go back to this park, they are making something new, which is great. And I'm kind of the same way, like, guys, slow down because we're going to run out of room eventually, you know. But they're just so excited. And so, I mean, they got a good group of volunteers that are always like, let's go do something new. Let's build something amazing to keep everybody excited and coming back, because being in Florida, we don't have much terrain difference. So it is really all man-made stuff. There is one park that's a quarry, Hard Rock Off-Road Park, but it's just so small. It would be hard to do it there. So I don't know the exact acreage, but they've got a great website. So you can look up and see exactly how big it is. But it's big enough for 20 teams to kind of stay out of each other's way and compete for, you know, a couple days.
What kind of terrain is it? Is it more like, when I think of Florida, I think of swampy, alligators, muddy type stuff?
Oh yeah, there are alligators aplenty on that property.
Is that what the marksmanship challenge is all about?
you know, there was, I think, a little alligator nest by the marksmanship thing last year, but so it is on a massive lake. So it's pretty, if you look up their page, they've got some of the names are pretty accurate to the trails. I think one of them actually is not one of them, 2 of them go along the outside of the lake. So you've got, there's gators out there for sure. I mean, they do turkey hunting out there as well, part of the year. So I mean, there's plenty of animals out there, but there is a beautiful city all around that area. And it's just kind of like this gem that the family has kind of just maintained and like, hey, leave us alone. Cause I mean, I'm sure if with the lakefront property, if they wanted to, these guys could be billionaires overnight and sell this, unfortunately.
Just sell it all off, let people build condos.
But they don't want to do that. And I think that's one of the main things that we're not allowed to do is touch anything near the water. So when you're going along the water on the trails, there's actually trees, and they don't want anybody touching anything because they're afraid if someone, you know, moves some trees out of the way, now everybody's going to pull up on their boat and they're going to make a party and they're going to have access to the property. So we're kind of like this little closed off park that's surrounded by beautiful woods.
Cool.
So there is some swamp stuff there, a lot of palm fronds. So going over that stuff. like I said, the property volunteers are always bringing stuff out. So there's some culverts. They've got some big heavy duty machinery where they've dug down into the ground. And they've made some sand pits, but a lot of it's some tight turns and drops. It's all man-made for the most part.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the challenges, or can you talk about them? Can you talk about past challenges?
Or maybe just add like a high
yeah.
level. Like we actually have a question in chat from Videos, one of our regular viewers. He's questioning the marksmanship challenge. What's that all about?
Okay, so marksmanship, I will say back up a little bit with the challenges. We do try to change them every single year. For the most part, it's been on me and just kind of my past experiences, some of the things that I did in the military that I can relate over to the off-roading and the overlanding type stuff. So we do try to change them up. But marksmanship, we've done pistol shooting before. We've done AR shooting before. Last year, one of our volunteers was on that show, Forged in Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually made throwing knives and throwing axes.
Oh.
And then he gave away a pair of custom-made knives to one of the winning teams. So
That's
it's
awesome.
it's not just shooting, and it can be a variety. We haven't done skeet shooting yet, so you never know.
Slingshots.
Slingshots, bow and arrows.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm all for an archery challenge. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, the challenges, those were some examples there. I mean, that's easy, AR shooting or pistol shooting
Right.
with just, simple iron sights on them, different distances, metal targets, keeping it very simple. But, another one maybe like on the mechanical side of things, they roll up to the challenge and we say, hey, you just blew the U-joint in your drive shaft. And then what we actually don't do is make them pull their own drive shaft out. We'll have like a drive shaft laying on the ground. Hey, here's your drive shaft. Here's a U-joint. Can you do it? Put it together. One in the past, High Lift was a sponsor last year, a great sponsor. We hope to have them back again this year.
That's cool.
We did a little bit of simulation like, hey, you're over here on the trail. You got a flat tire. You need to use your High Lift. However, your High Lift you just realized is damaged. You've got to get in the canoe across the lake to get your rebuild kit from High Lift. Come back, rebuild your High Lift, use it to take off your tire and change your tire.
Nice.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of a storyline in it.
Yeah.
So
It's
where
funny
not just,
because
hey, go change your High Lift,
The one thing I always say about a High Lift is that it's not for changing tires, and now you're having people changing tires with their High Lift.
They're a great sponsor. I've had my own experiences with High Lifts and other deals, but
we had a show about High Lift too. We were debating, and I take it everywhere.
Yeah, there's a caveat to every statement I ever make. There are cases where you will absolutely use your High Lift to change a tire, but not on the side of the highway is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And there's so many other uses for a High Lift and tricks. You can use.
And the thing that we do for the teams is we give them a minimum equipment list, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just like, you ask a local club or a group or, someone you look up to in the wheeling, like, hey, what do you recommend I bring? And we give them that. They can bring anything they want to. So they can bring bottle jacks, they can bring a safe jack setup. They can bring little ramps. They can bring whatever they want to this event. It's just a minimum equipment list.
What is your minimum equipment list? Can you?
So, a typical, soft shackles or some kind of D-rings, winch line extension, kinetic rope, tree saver, recovery strap. We'll talk about like the food. They have to provide their own tent, their own living facilities, which we keep them in kind of like a 10 by 10 area. We don't want them come out here yard sailing all over the park.
Mm-hmm.
Gloves, you'll need gloves, eyewear, safety eyewear, winch line dampener. It's all on the website, but it's about 20 to 30 really basic things. And again, if it's anything special, if we're highlighting one of our sponsors like High Lift or, the drive shaft company, we will provide those types of things for them.
And I take it you go out and do all the challenges during the day, and then it's like whatever time, 9, 8 o'clock or whatever time, they all go back to a camp. You're not sleeping out there with the alligators, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So they,
just
we
challenges.
Yeah.
Challenges, Tammy. You got to tame an
they
alligator.
They might have to pull CQ and watch their tent, but they do stay in a completely separate area out in the woods. They do.
Oh, okay.
The volunteers have their own area up front. because it does take a full army of volunteers. So Casey, if you're watching this, thank you so much for logistics with all the volunteers. But we've kind of got our own little thing, but it's also a great time to meet new people in the community, kind of, build some relationships, because when they're volunteering, they're out in the woods. They really don't see anybody for the whole day until they come back at night. So
Right.
we're in one area, but it's also to pay respects to the challengers, to give them the peace and quiet, to let them relax, recharge. And then also some great friendships have come out of this event. That like, the challengers hang around the fire at night while they're making dinner, while they're refreshing, while they're, getting ready to reset for the next day. So there's a little bit of that going on that we want to respect and stay away from. So
they're camping together though, the challengers.
Yes,
they're
they
not
are.
like all isolated from each other or anything.
no, we
Okay.
pretty much make a real nice organized, I guess you could say, military in a line. They got a 10-foot by 10-foot box, and that's where their camp is supposed to be, and their vehicle
Okay.
parks right in front of it.
Can
Cool.
you stay in your Jeep if you want? Sleep in your
Yeah.
Jeep, or just
Yep. You can
And
stay inside your Jeep. We just keep it to a 10 by 10 area because we don't want people coming out with massive tents. Like, again, you got to really think about, you're packing up just your rig and you're hitting the road. You're not pulling a camper behind
Yeah.
you. You're not pulling, a flatbed with all kinds of, you're in a rig with just you and your co-driver.
You have anybody do it with like one of those overland trailers, or would you put a stop to that?
So I've had one person ask me, and I said that it has to fit in the 10 by 10 area because that's the rules.
Mhm.
And it also, you cannot have anything come in. So if it's already mounted and you just don't want to take it off, you can park it in that 10 by 10 area and your tent can, fold over on it or whatever, but you can't bring it in using it as extra storage.
Okay.
So have you saved all your scripts, as you call them, from previous years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
So you need to sell these to people in other states, and you could do this all over the country.
You could
You
have
know,
trail team
You could
franchises all over the
franchise
world.
Hey,
I'm-
if I could retire and run trail team challenges around
Yeah.
the country, that'd be awesome.
I'm thinking, Cheyenne, we really don't have, we have the mountains and all this land near us that I'm thinking, gosh, we should have this out here.
If you sat down and really thought of it, you'd be surprised the stuff that you could come up with.
You
Just
said 45 challenges. That's a lot.
Yeah, and some of them are precision driving. So we'll make some really technical courses over
Yeah.
some obstacles where, it's a time thing. And if they're touching the stakes or the posts, they get time deduction. So the spotter is outside, literally running side to side. And they're going as, and then we did one where it was reverse driving. You got to, you've been on trails before, right? Where a massive tree has been down or a boulder's come off the side of the
Oh,
mountain.
right. You got to back.
And you're like, I got to back up, but I can't turn around. So now you're backing up. Or I'll say this one because it's surprising that this one becomes a shock to a lot of people. And this plays into the team dynamics. When you tell the driver that he is now impaired and the co-driver has to drive the vehicle,
yeah.
Huh.
teams go, wait, what? Like the driver goes, wait, I'm not going to get to drive. I got to relinquish to him or her. And
But
I'm
it's
like,
my rig.
yeah,
I
you
know.
do, because sometimes that happens and you have
Yeah.
to be comfortable with that.
Right.
You've got to have the trust in your teammate,
Yeah.
Do you blindfold the driver and make him sit in the passenger seat? And
No, we just put them in the we like that one. We let them spot, so they became the spotter.
Yeah,
They basically
okay.
we forced them to switch. I will say, again, not trying to get, but we did do what we call the bird box challenge. where
I
you
was just
blindfolded the
thinking
driver.
that
All
one
right.
too.
You
I'm
blindfolded
like-
the driver, and that one is a big shakeup too, because typically your driver is your alpha, right? Or it's
Yeah.
the one whose vehicle it is, so they're more worried about damage or something happening. And that one is very cool because you see the nervousness when they start, but then after the end, like I remember that we had a team that was in with Chevy Colorado last year, and they were like a brother team, I believe, and they were like, "Man, you killed it! You did awesome! I had no idea," And the brother had to relinquish and let his other brother do it.
Right.
So
I was when
pretty
you were
cool.
saying that about, I was like, gosh, you should just have them
Yeah, I
do
was-
something blindfolded.
I was trying to think of the name of that show,
Yeah.
but then you came right out with it. The bird.
yeah,
Yeah. What a
Yeah.
great idea.
but I
You
mean,
really should franchise this. This is a really great idea.
I'll think about it. But the terrain thing, that's a big thing for us designing the challenges, is because we don't have these massive hills and mountains. So
Yeah.
we do have to really be creative. But that's where like the first aid stuff comes into play. That's where the land nav and navigation stuff, or even the survival stuff.
Mhm.
One year it was, hey, it's getting really cold. It's the end of the day. You need to start a fire and you need to make food. and what we did in order for them to build the fire, but also the key thing was sustaining the fire, not just getting it going for 2 seconds and it going out. We said they had to boil an egg. So typically boiling an egg takes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Right.
So you've got to make a fire, maintain it, boil the egg, and in order to get challenged.
Not just maintain it, but maintain enough temperature to get the water boiling, to not boil it all off before the egg boils. Yeah.
And then also with the challenges, that one right there, some people are like, oh, that's kind of stupid, boiling an egg. But at the same time, not everything the whole entire weekend has to be physical. We want a mental side of things as well.
Yeah,
we want to let you rest, your body rest, because this is tough, man. You do the 3 days of this event. At the end, you're beat, you're tired. So those little areas like that are like, all right, man, one person can almost do that while the other one's eating lunch or repacking the rig and getting it ready to go and reorganizing or fixing we've had vehicle issues just on their own. So you go, hey man, I'm going to go fix this electrical issue. Can you get the fire going and boil that egg? And we'll figure it out. That's what the good teams would do.
Yeah, it inspires teamwork, but it also, if you're going to call it a survival challenge as well as an off-road challenge, I mean, it's more than just an off-road challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can remember back when I was in the Scouts, there were challenges like that. It's like, can you boil an egg? Can you make dinner? Can you do anything that would keep you from starving to death in the forest, right? Yep. That's completely reasonable, I would say.
Yep.
And when you were talking about exhaustion, just regular wheeling with your friends, you're just going out to wheel. After 6 hours of that, you are and you're just sitting in your vehicle, but you're beat.
Yeah,
you're exhausted.
You're using your brain, especially if you're on more technical trails. Your brain's working hard. Yep. It's no different than people who think for a living, right? At the end of the day, you're like, how can you be tired? You sat at a desk all day. Well, yeah, I did, but I did a lot of thinking while I was doing that. That burns calories too. Your brain gets tired.
I will say we will not do the Bird Box challenge here in the Rocky Mountains. Just we'll leave that one to the plains.
End up tumbling down the side of a mountain. That would be bad.
Yeah. No, don't turn left.
Next time I'm spotting you at AOAA, Tammy, we'll put a blindfold on you. See if that increases your panic.
Are you sure? So what kind of vehicles have you had in the past sign up for this?
So we've had a pretty good spread. Last year we had an old FJ. Lars and Ray out of the Pensacola area. They're big in the Toyota community. So that was cool to see that old school rig out there that those guys have man, they wheel it all over the place. Like I said, we had a Colorado last year. We had some older Tacomas. Actually a Cherokee XJ won it last year.
Oh, wow.
We've had, obviously JKs, TJs, LJs, 4Runners come out. I think we've got an older 4Runner this year already, some XJs, some Jeeps. And I'm really trying to get these Bronco guys out, man. I don't know what it is. The Tacoma guys are kind of there. The 4Runner, like I said, we've had one of them, but the Bronco community is a little different.
They're all too shiny yet. They don't want to.
Are they still in the mall crawler mode?
I like to volunteer at Old Florida, because again, the guys and girls that are over there they're just amazing to work with. So I'm like, you know what? You go out and wheel in Moab and you come back to a little bit smaller local park. You're like, hey, let me just help out. I'm not going to really get into too much here. But so I noticed like the Broncos coming in, and it looks like the ladies and gentlemen just left the boardroom. Like they've got their little cockpit set up, their polo dry fit is on with their khakis tucked in. They've got all the high-end accessories. Like they're just ready to go.
Look, there was a day that would have described a JK owner. Okay.
Yes,
I remember
exactly.
It. So
it'll
come around.
I actually grew up with Broncos. My uncle was a big Bronco. He had them all over the place. We'd go to the mud hole in them. And now I see these new Broncos and I'm like, my poor uncle. He's probably looking at these Bronco guys going, oh. But hopefully we get some Bronco people. I've tried to, message some of the influencers and the TikTokers and the YouTubers and say, man, come out, put your skills on display is really what this is. And we'll see.
And it doesn't sound like your challenges are going to damage their rigs, right? I mean, yes, there's challenges that sound like they're technical, but it doesn't sound like you're going to have them like scraping against trees and rolling down hills and stuff.
Correct.
You just don't have the terrain for it.
Yeah, I mean, there is some stuff. We have had some breaks. We have had some issues, but I can pretty much say it was 100% driver. One gentleman was on a very well-built JKU on our first year going way too fast, and he hit a tree and broke his sector shaft. He was done. You know, I think we had an axle break last year, right at the end of the event, and it was because of, you know, a little bit too much skinny pedal. So yeah,
Get
we're
you.
not putting anybody in any situations, but also that kind of brings me to the types of vehicles, you know, again, back to the people with, oh, I got a full size truck or I got 42-inch tires. This is the trail team challenge. This isn't the Bounty Hill challenge. You know, this isn't Ultra 4. This isn't King of Hammers. This is a trail team challenge, which also means that you don't have to have a $250,000 Ultra 4 truck to come out and compete. You know, you can have a lifted vehicle. It's really testing your skills with a little bit of what you can do with your vehicle.
Mhm.
That was kind of my next question. In fact, really the only question I had contributed to our small list of questions. What are the requirements vehicle-wise? Like, do you have a minimum? You must be this tall to ride this ride. You already mentioned about the size, but what else? Like, is there a tire size minimum? Is there
Yep.
whatever?
So it's more a maximum. We're not going over 40-inch tires.
Okay.
And then it's any mid-size vehicle. So there are actual widths and lengths to it. And, you know, I'm a Gladiator owner myself. I have a new Gladiator. And, you know, it's making it to where, you know, those are a little bit bigger. The Gladiators and the JL guys now, I remember 35s or 37s, and now we're into the 40s for just daily driving.
Yeah.
It's
You
getting
know,
out of control.
it is. And I mean, I've got big tires on my Gladiator.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm one, you know, right there. But again, if I'm going to do precision driving, if I'm going to do super technical stuff, and you've got a Gladiator on 42-inch, you know, tires, and then the TJ in 33 comes by,
Yeah.
you know, and he's super technical and he weaves through it,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm basing it off of those parameters that I put on the website for them. At FloridaTrailTeamChallenge.com. It's like, hey, this is the width. So when we build these technical course, imagine we're taking a block and that's what's fitting through this so that it can be passable. It's just, then it's up to your driver skill.
Wow. I'm just like, oh, I wish I would have known about this earlier because I would have, I think maybe next year. I don't know. I just love those kind of, you know, it's kind of like the TV show Survivor, you know, where you have these. I've always been fascinated with that.
I
and
was
think,
I was thinking Truck Night in America.
yeah.
This sounds like aside from the survival pieces, but like the driving challenges all seem very
Mhm.
similar to what was on that show.
Yeah, and our big thing is tread lightly. So you probably see me post a lot about tread lightly. So I am a tread lightly trainer. Don Cox is amazing. Florida, we kind of call him our Florida representative here. He's taken it and ran with it. He's actually over at Jeep Beach right now, already doing tread lightly cleanups and whatnot. So it is about bringing awareness to tread lightly, and getting those guys involved and really hitting the principles home. So, you know, that's a big part too, to give back and bring awareness to tread lightly and their main principles, and also keeping the parks open, you know, being a good steward to, you know, off-roading, and giving back to the community. So we try to tie that into it as well. We ask all our volunteers to take the free Tread Lightly 101 course, and a little test that they get a certificate on, as well as all the challengers too, just to help with knowledge. And then we actually base some of those skits and those schemes off of, you know, their test and the knowledge that they give out.
So when is this event? And I had a second question to that, but now I don't remember. Anyway, when is the event? Yeah.
I would
So
say
October.
how can people register?
October.
Is probably a good follow up there.
Okay,
So it's in October.
It's the end of October. So it is the 25th through the 27th. So basically you'll check in Friday, be ready to compete when you check in. Let me just say that.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
So you will check in on Friday.
The pen to sign the paper is
Yeah, because again, we want to simulate that when you get there, you are ready to hit the trail and go. So be ready to compete when you check in on Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is the final in Tavares, Florida. For anybody who wants to sign up, you can go to FloridaTrailTeamChallenge.com. There's a tab if you want to sponsor it, if you want to volunteer, or if you want to register.
So you can
do all
still
that through the
sign. You
website.
still have openings.
Correct. Yeah. So it's
okay.
closed out at 20 teams. We're over halfway there, so we do still have some availability.
Okay.
So there are still spots, and I will say that I've got about 4 or 5 that have already talked to me, reached out. They're interested. They just haven't paid the entrance fee. The entrance fee is $500. So it's not too steep, in my opinion. Just to go to most of the off-road parks around here, it's $100 for a weekend, maybe a little bit more. You're getting 2 people in. Plus, we have some great sponsors. Hopefully, we'll get some more that we're able to give back some awesome stuff to the teams. And then also those that win first, second, third place are going home with some pretty awesome prizes. So everything is through the website. And as soon as you register on there, I'll send you back an email, or the staff will send you back an email with all your confirmation stuff and how to pay the entry fee.
And then, so another thing is, like, people who are curious about this and want to see, are you going to do you have a YouTube channel? Will you be posting videos where people can kind of get a feel for it? Like, oh, I want to try it, but I would like to see more about it.
So yes, that is honestly our biggest struggle right now, is the media exposure,
Uh-huh.
because it's not spectator friendly. It's not
Oh,
safe for spectators.
right.
Yeah.
You know,
Out in the
it's,
middle
I
of
mean,
nowhere.
yeah, I mean, imagine going to Roush Creek or where you guys AAOP or where not, that you're just like
AOAA.
AOAA. Thank you.
There you
Because
go.
I've been to AOP as well. All right. So, imagine just having challenges randomly on the side of the mountain. And then, there's only so many trails to get there. And now you've got spectators trying to go.
Yeah.
So the media is our big struggle. So what we do is we do have a team of photographers and videographers. The best way to do is follow either the Facebook or the Instagram. We'll be going live on both platforms.
Oh, fun.
And then really what we do is for the sponsors, the photographers and videographers are really trying to get some content for them. But in order to get stuff out there, the teams are actually given points for media. So if you're at the drive shaft challenge and you're having to rebuild the drive shaft with the U-joint, it's sponsored by, say, Gulf Coast Drive Shafts. They'll say, hey, take a picture of this while you're doing it, upload the photo on your team page or your Facebook, tag that sponsor, and then you'll get X amount of extra points on top of it.
Right.
So ideally, that weekend, our sponsors are going to get flooded with content from the challenge, as well as we ask them to do that leading up to. But then we also ask all our volunteers to do it. So when people are like, I really want to come and watch, then I say, you know what? Then volunteer. Volunteer. You're going to get to see it up close and personal. You're going to get to interact. You're going to get to see it. That's the best way to really watch it, is to volunteer. And then kind of into the volunteer thing, we do have some people that are like, well, I'm new to it. I'm a little nervous. I'm not that experienced. And we say, listen, you're just giving them parameters, right? There could be, say, 10 ways to fix a flat tire, right? Depending on what you have in your rig. You're just monitoring to make sure it holds air or it doesn't hold air. You're making sure that safety is being followed, that, the jack isn't leaning over as someone's underneath the vehicle. So you're there to really make sure safety and that they're following within the parameters and the rules. And what we see is that the volunteers leave so excited because they're like, their mind is blown with the creativity and the things that they've seen and they've learned over the weekend. Because they're not just at one challenge. They're probably doing 3 to 4 challenges in the weekend. So they're like, man, I just saw 20 teams do this 20 different ways and they all were successful, So it's kind of exciting to be a volunteer. It really is.
This
Pretty
is
cool.
really, really, really well thought out. Was this all you?
So I do want to give credit where credit's due. I used to compete in a similar event that is no longer around. I did take it from my personal experiences, things I liked and I didn't like. I spun it. But there was an event that went on for 3 years called the 36 Hours of Uwharrie.
I was just going to say, I heard about that up there.
Well,
I think I heard of that.
I competed in the second and third year. I didn't even know about it the first year. Casey Curry actually won it the first year. So I went up, I did 2 different teams. I had 2 different partners, but I competed in the second and third year. And one of the gentlemen who was kind of the lead and huge in the Jeep community up there in the Uwharrie, North Carolina area actually passed away, Scott Fields. That's actually where,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where I actually got involved with Tread Lightly because they were a big sponsor there. And one of the neat projects that we did up there was Tread Lightly did the trails up in Uwharrie where people were going off the trail. We actually built, railing to keep people where they were supposed to be, to keep, again, at the end of the day, it's to keep everything open for us to enjoy. So that's where I got my first taste of Tread Lightly and started getting involved with them. So the 36 Hours Uwharrie was it. They had a very military style thing to it where 3 guys came in and they had their hats on and they were yelling. And while people were, at the end of the day, most of the people that were competing were probably former military already. And we were like, man, we did this. We don't need that.
Right.
competing. Let us go. You know,
I'm not here to be berated. Thanks.
yeah. And then what I noticed too is they actually gave us what they called like the Bible, the handbook, and whatnot. And then it became kind of a game where people were reading the script and picking and choosing what they wanted to do. And so I'm like, that's not really like, if you don't know you're going to get a flat tire, you don't know a hub's going to go out, you don't know a drive shaft's going to go out, you don't know while you're on the trail, you're going to find a guy that fell off his horse and broke his arm and needs immediate medical attention. You know, you don't get to pick and choose. So that's why I was like, I'm just going to do coordinates. I'm going to do coordinates. I'm not doing the military thing. If these guys want to take 2 hours to get out of their tent, that's on them. As far as I know, everybody here signed up to compete. So, but yeah, that's where it started. And I took it, twisted it, and did my own with it.
So I think Charlene Bauer participated in that one year.
She did. She was there the last year.
Okay.
She got a sponsorship, I believe, from somebody. So she was representing somebody there.
Yeah.
I messaged her. I said, we'd love to have a girls team. We actually had a women's team last year that did very well. So we'd love to see some women's teams out there. It's open to anybody.
Well,
18 and up. 18 and up.
Maybe if I get my Jeep engine fixed in time, maybe.
Come out, Team TNT.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tammy, I tell you what, if you can get out to
Mary and I could come out. Mary and I could come out there.
You get out to Pennsylvania, maybe not this October, but next October. We'll load either your Jeep or mine on the trailer, and we'll get us down to Florida.
Yeah.
And we'll compete. How's that sound?
That is, it just sounds so much fun.
Yep.
So
it is a blast. And I think one of the best things is just seeing, like, at the end, like hearing people going, man, you know, even the challengers, I didn't know how to do that, but we figured it out.
Right.
We attempted it, you know, that's pretty cool to see. And at the end too, you know, we give I give a little talk about just, you know, no one's ever just said like, man, we can't do this. No one's ever given up. And that's what it is. Like, if you're on a trail in Windrock for 6 hours, can you just give up? No, you got to figure it out and get back, you know? So,
some areas of the country, trails are miles and miles and miles long, and they're in the middle of the wilderness, right? If you're halfway through, that means you're that far away from where you started or where you'll finish, and that's where civilization is. And you can't just throw up your hands. You gotta figure it out and get back.
Yeah.
And I would tell you what, though, out of all the women and the men that have competed in this event, and I would wheel with any of them any day of the week. Like, these are the type of people that really, I think, keep the sport alive, because these are the guys that if you're out with them wheeling and something happens and you're in a predicament, these ladies and gentlemen will not hesitate to get dirty, get you fixed, and get you back home safe to your family and where you need to be. So that's the really cool part after the event, is just to sit back and go, man, this is a good community of people.
And I think I've found over the years, I would say 99% of the people that I come across all over the country have been like that. It's just like a really great community.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the things I try to impart on folks when they're at the Jamboree as I guide. I try to be that guy, try to be that example, so that, because a lot of these people, especially on the easy trails, this is their first experience, right?
Yes.
They bought a Jeep, they got the flyer, they came out, you know, and I try to make sure that that's part of it, because I really want that to stay part of this sport. Because you see it in a lot of even other facets of this sport. Like, ATV guys don't seem to have that. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. What's the difference between the ATV folks and the full size folks? But I don't see that as much there. They're really like lone wolves, right? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, and even there's times now where I go wheeling, and half of the people that I've met through Trail Team Challenge, like, hey, Mark, you want to go with us? Yeah, let's go, man. I've made some great friends in this
That's
through this
awesome.
event. So
that's cool.
What a great event.
Thank you.
And we will have the link to the website and the Facebook page in our show notes, and we will be sharing it on our social media, and keep us posted on everything. And
we'll do. We're starting to get the sponsors rolling in right now, so you'll see that's kind of a lot of what it is, the sponsors that are coming on board. So we're posting a lot about that. We're trickling out the teams. We haven't posted all the teams, so basically every other week I'm dropping a new team and a little bit about them. So there's some stuff to stay involved in leading up over the next couple months. And
are you the person answering Facebook messages for this?
Not always. We do have a
group.
staff. Casey is over our volunteers. Casey Poley, again, she's kind of the front end, right? Getting all the volunteers figured out, the waivers, all that, shirt sizes. So she's kind of wrapping up, getting that solidified. Christine, and we had Amy was helping us with the sponsorship stuff. So they're really going hard into that. I help with the sponsorships as well, just because of some of the networking I already have in the community and some of the past relationships. And then Tiffany Chavez is over our media. So she's got the photographers, the videographers who are making the content right now, doing all the imaging, as well as Becky Trudell. So they're doing the little TikTok clips and whatnot. So it is a really good team. And then what I've actually done this year, which is different from the past, is I have 4 previous competitors who are helping me design the new challenges.
Oh, that's cool.
So that we get some fresh
Good
ideas
idea.
in. So
Yeah, because it gets old, right? Like in your own brain, you're like, what do I do this year to keep it fresh? It's like,
Yeah.
well, do I just do the same stuff we did before? People have seen that. Yeah, it's nice to
Yeah.
get some fresh ideas.
Yep. And again, I met these 4 gentlemen that I had never met before. Super great guys, full of ideas. And when I started talking to them, I was like, you know what? Let's take this map, break it into 4. Each one of you get 4 areas. And then we're just talking almost, every other week, hey, here's an idea. And we're just putting them into these categories. So we'll solidify that here after we go to the park in a couple weeks. And then we'll start writing up all the scripts.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, I was just looking at your sponsorship and what that entailed. But that's all on the website. I
Yep.
was trying to think of what we could do at TNT that may help you, but I'll reach out to you later after the podcast.
So there are some tiers, but even in some of the emails that I've said, and I think it might say it on the website too, that's just like the big title stuff. There's smaller stuff. That's not the end all be all. If it's a great product and it's something really that we can both be beneficial to use, then we're all about it. Some of the companies like Glue Tread, I don't know if you've heard of them. They're a sidewall repair kit. So when you're blowing out sidewalls, it's a newer product to me, but I've heard about them. I've had some friends use them and say good things about them. So they're not cutting us a big check. We're solely working off of the entry fees to pay for the park and all the stuff for the event. But they're giving us some product donations. So we're actually going to be using products from the sponsors into the challenges. And that also gives the sponsors some content too, right? We'll be able to give Glue Tread plenty of photos, plenty of videos of their product being used. Same thing with High Lift in the past. We've given them tons of photos and videos of the high lifts being used in multiple different areas. So plenty of opportunities. If you're interested in sponsoring, just shoot me something. Either I'll respond, Christine will respond, and then we'll figure out something that works.
Cool beans. Sounds like a fun event.
Yeah, that it does. It's got me excited. I wish you weren't like a 2-day drive away from me.
Yeah.
Like an 18-hour drive from me.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about the franchise maybe, and then we talked about Dirt Night in America. Maybe we can get a TV to pick us up and we can have you two come over and be the commentators in the ESPN sports desk going live with sports and cameras out in the field.
5 years from now, we'll all be going, remember that first time we met and we were
I mean, look what King of Hammer started and where they're at these days.
Oh, heck yeah. 12 guys and a case of beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
13 guys with 13. I don't remember.
Yep. Race you to the top.
Yep. All to get up one trail. Who could do, or no, 2 trails. Who could do them the fastest?
Yep.
It's crazy.
It sounds so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We should let him go. It's his wife's birthday.
There was one question in chat. We'll touch that, I think. And the question is basically around the challenges. Are there any like physical fitness type challenges, like heavy lifting, running, anything like that?
Yes. I mean, if you're changing tires, you're using land anchors, your winch is broke and you're having to use come-alongs,
but it's like off-road stuff, not like here, ride this bike to the other side of the thing and then swim over there, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're not just trying to physically annihilate you. Let's put it that way. But
it's related to the sport. If you're active in the sport, you're probably familiar with the sort of things they're going to do. Is that?
Yeah. There's no 100-yard dash timing and stuff like that. I think one year we did have, hey, you've got 2 minutes, as many push-ups as you can do, as many sit-ups as you can do as a point type deal. But that was just to kind of, last very end of the thing to give it just the last bit of what you got. But there's no swimming across the lake timed or anything like that.
Yeah, race the crocodiles.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I'm not trying to get anybody ate by an alligator. If that happens, this event is done and I'm running for the hills.
Right. Oh,
Ain't that the truth? All right. Well, this has been an awesome interview.
Yeah.
I hope folks reach out. I hope they give you a little bit more exposure for your event. If you do register after hearing this this show, tell Mark you heard about it here. I don't know if it'll
Yes.
get you anything, but it'll be
Well,
nice to know.
I did put a link to you guys on the website already too. So
Awesome.
hopefully you guys get some, followers as well. Man.
Yeah.
We really appreciate
Cool.
it.
That's appreciated.
Together as a team, right? Right. All right. Well,
Alright,
go
well, the
enjoy
show-
the rest of your birthday night with or her birthday night.
Her birthday. Yeah.
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 She'll
All
be
right,
there
it
at
has-
check-in if you want to meet her.
It's been great chatting with you. Remember, folks, what is it? Florida Trail Team Challenge.com is the best
You
way
got
that
it.
people can find you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show. And
Thanks for
yeah,
having
maybe
me.
we'll have you back sometime after the show or after the
Yeah.
event. You can fill us
Fill
in on
us
how it
in.
went.
Awesome. Thanks, Tammy. Thanks, Nate.
Yep.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Mark.
one.
Bye bye. It's like we're on the phone. Okay. Goodbye. Love you. I've done that before at work, and I'm like, oh no, don't tell me. love me."
I spent the first part of my career as a frontline help desk person, and I never did anything like that. But one time I forgot the greeting as I was answering the phone. I just answered with hello, and they're like, I'm like, oh crap.
I did that
Only
today.
once. Only
was
one
on the-
time.
I was on the phone with my son Michael, and the office phone was ringing. I'm like, "Oh, Michael, I gotta go." And I picked up the other phone, and I said, "Hey."
Yeah. I also
Hey.
did it the other way around once. I was like answering the phone at home, and I answered as though I was at
Uh-huh.
work. It's because
Yeah.
it's like it's muscle memory at one
It
point.
is. It is.
I would take like 100 calls a day when I was in that call. Ugh, I never want to go back to there.
That
It's
event
such-
sounds like so much fun, and what a great idea to do
yeah,
that at places all over the country.
that
Oh,
would be awesome. That would be awesome. Now, there's probably other events that do already fill that niche, but to
I've
sort
never-
of
yeah.
like to put them under an umbrella like that would be pretty cool.
yeah, I'd heard of 36 of Uari,
Yeah.
and I knew it included the marksmanship, and I remember Charlene Bauer telling me she had to use the high lift jack as a winch.
Hmm.
You know how I think we
Yep.
talked about that on the
I've
show.
only had to do that once.
And there's also another way. I did a small short little reel because I didn't get the full video, but the Nora off-road people, the Northeast off-road, they're out of New York.
Mhm.
They did a few things with Women's Wheeling Day. And he took the tree saver and somehow hooked it to the high lift jack and wrapped it around the tire to turn the tire to get it off of a stuck obstacle.
Hmm.
I can't remember what he called it, but it was just like there are so many other different ways that you can use that high lift jack. So
Yeah, years ago I had reached out to Kyle and I was going to do a collaboration video with him, just
Mhm.
like going over high lift safety and stuff, and it never worked out. We never got it planned and never got it done. But that's what you need. You need someone who's not just trained but has the experience to show you like all of the crazy ways that not
Mhm.
only can you use the high lift to do stuff, but use it safely,
Mhm.
because they get such a bad rap. you know,
yeah,
the high
they
lift.
do.
Everyone's like, oh, it's just gonna kill you, and it could.
Right.
Absolutely could. So can a steel cabled winch. But if you know what
Yes.
you're doing, they're
Right.
they're completely safe as long as you pay attention. So I did have a news article, but we're just about out of time. So I will store it for next time.
Right
However,
on.
Tammy, who are we talking to next time?
Now that's what I was going to ask you. When is our next podcast? Because
Yeah.
today's the 22nd.
So 2 weeks from now, I will be at another conference. You can blame my employer for that. We're
Okay,
gonna
yeah,
be
on
in-
the 6th. We would normally do it on the 6th.
Yep, we're going to be living the high life in Colorado, Denver.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
So we're
so we-
doing on the 13th, May
So we
13th,
we rescheduled the next show to the 13th. and we're
for
having
big news people.
pretty high profile guest.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's quite as big as the East Coast Nate, but on the West Coast, there's this guy named Nate that runs a little tiny YouTube channel called Dirt Lifestyle. And he's agreed to come on the show and chat with us about
I was
pretty much whatever.
surprised. Yeah. I was surprised. He
So,
agreed to do that.
folks,
So
if you've got questions for Dirt Lifestyle Nate, or you just want to kind of chat, see what he's all about, make sure you tune in on the 13th, because I think it's
Yes.
going to be. He was out here in PA like a year ago, 2 years ago, and we had plans to meet up at AOAA, and they fell through because some family thing came up, and I'm like, when am I going to get this chance again? Well,
Right.
this is the closest I've gotten. So.
Right. Definitely. So exciting. So that will
Yep.
be May 13th is our next podcast. You can tune
Yep.
in live. And we should tell people we're the Off-Road Insiders podcast. We forget.
Wait till the end of the show to do that.
I know.
We gotta get better at that.
We always forget. Okay, you're listening to the Off-Road Insiders podcast, and you can
So
find
I'll
us
just-
at offroadinsiders.com.
I'll just cut that out and put it at the beginning. How's that sound?
Oh, there you go. We could say it as our opening.
We'll have to
You
do.
know, we do our little opening.
Yeah. All right. Well, that
So
was a fun
exciting.
episode.
That
was a fun
That was
show.
really he did a great job.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks, and thanks for all the questions in the chat room.
Yep.
And we
And,
will see you on May 13th.
Yep. If you want to watch us live, make sure you find us on YouTube and subscribe. That way you know when we go live. If you want to find us on social media, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for the Off-Road Insiders podcast. Go to offroadinsiders.com. If you just can't find us, there's a bunch of links to get to where you need to from there. And yeah, you can find me at swbcrawler.com. And Tammy, where can they find you?
Jeep Mama, MOMMA.com. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X,
You got the TikTok
Pinterest.
channel.
Yeah, Pinterest.
Pinterest. Can't forget Pinterest.
Yeah, I was
I
really
just-
doing really good on TikTok, and then I'm like, God, there's just so much. And then with the Off-Road Insiders, and then my job at TNT is that.
Yeah, right.
It's like
right.
I am so sick of reels. I'm so sick of reels. So
If I didn't love making content, I would really hate everything that I have to do.
Yeah. I mean, I like doing it, but it's like, whoo, it's a lot of work.
It is, and trying to keep track of all of it. Who am I representing now?
Yeah. Oh, I've
which persona do I need to put on?
I've accidentally posted TNT stuff on my Facebook page or my Facebook reels. And
Yeah.
then one time Tanner reached out to me. He's like, did you mean to put that on TNT's Facebook page? And I'm like, oh, and I quickly have to
Oh,
go
crap.
delete my reel on their page. And so
the terrible life we
Yes.
have to lead, right?
so
All right, folks. Well, thanks for watching live. If you're here live, if you're listening audio only, thanks for listening. And make sure to like and subscribe and give us some feedback. We don't really get a lot of feedback, comments, and whatnot, except for folks in the live chat. We'd love to hear from you. So we also did not mention if you want to reach out to us for directly, if DMs or whatever on the different social networks aren't good enough. offroadinsiders@gmail.com. You can reach out to us the old-fashioned way and mail us an email. No stamps
don't-
required.
yeah, and don't forget to check out the Florida Trail Team Challenge on Facebook and Instagram, and go follow them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, let me find the button here, because every time I get out of the way here it is. All right,
Okay.
folks.
See
We
you
will catch
later.
you next time. Have a great one.